David, how did we get here? How do you summarize exactly what happened?
Well, do you want to go through 30 years of NCAA officials putting the line in the sand as the rest of the world and common sense crossed over and they refused to adopt common sense rules? And now you have an NIL landscape with not very many rules and not very many guidelines, and no one protecting players, no one protecting programs. And situations like these are going to happen. I mean, this is very different from the Jaden Rashada saga for a number of reasons. But it in spirit it is similar in that you have a kid being promised a lot of money and not being delivered on that money, and the main reason is because of all of those factors at play in the landscape that make this sort of just a lawless place where people are trying to figure it out, and it's very hard to figure out, especially for kids who are dealing with these situations for the first time ever. And it's only been happening for 3 years and only been happening as it is now for a couple of years, and it's hard to figure out.
Yeah, but okay, let's just apply logic, and I know that's rarely done.
Yeah, it's college
But
sports, easy.
so he's leaving Holy Cross. He's going to UNLV and says that he was promised $100,000 by an assistant coach. It's a verbal promise. Now you have to go to the collective to get that money. Like there's a disconnect between the coaching staff and the collective because the NCAA says, they can't, coexist here from the standpoint of having contact, which is silly. I don't think there's any way you recruit somebody and then say, I can't promise you anything. Go talk to the collective. What kid is going to transfer under that false pretense? So how do they prove or disprove the $100,000 offer from an assistant coach?
Well, you can. I mean, I guess there's not a lot of reason for a kid to lie. And if you looked at all the statements that came out yesterday, nobody seemed to be disputing this verbal agreement, but they're disputing that there's a written agreement that they can prove in court that they're going to owe this kid actually money. I don't think he's going to get paid at all. So it goes into this place where there's not a lot of norms, there's not a lot of rules, and so I think that it definitely seems to be true that the coach promised him money, and he wouldn't be the first coach to promise a kid money that they didn't have at the moment. But you get the kid, you think, well, we can get donors, we can get boosters excited, we can pay him on the back end, we can make this happen once we get them, and it seems clear based on them coming back to the coaching staff, coming back to the collective over and over since February when this deal was ironed out, that they didn't have the money to pay him. That seems clear at this point. And so that's a failure on the part of the entire sort of UNLV landscape. And it's an embarrassing saga. And this is the kind of stuff that really hurts you on the recruiting trail. Florida dealt with some of this as well. It's $13 million versus $100,000. But these are things that are going to be brought up on the recruiting trail, and it's tough for schools to deal with that. But it's an ugly situation, and it goes back to, if you don't know that you have the money, maybe don't promise it. But $100,000 is not very much money. It seems to me that it's kind of hard to believe, even with all of the lack of support that has kind of plagued UNLV's program, that you can't come up with $100,000 for your starting quarterback in Vegas. I mean, you could probably go walk around the street and count, $10 bills in the cracks of the sidewalk and probably be able to come up with that. So it's hard to believe, but that seems to be the reality for the program right now.
Yeah, my college source said to me this morning, UNLV wanted to play the game. They couldn't afford to pay the game.
Yeah.
Therefore, hey, we want to be big time. And then they do this, in the same time frame of a $27 million payout to stay in the Mountain West, where this kid's trying to get $100,000 that you promised him.